Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The topic of this video lecture is midbrain or mesencephalon. We have already divided the brain into prosencephalon or forebrain, mesencephalon or midbrain, and rhombencephalon or hindbrain. We started with the external features of the brain. So we finished with the external features of the forebrain or prosencephalon. And today we will discuss the midbrain or mesencephalon. So you can see in this diagram, here was the forebrain or prosencephalon, and in this we discuss the external features of the telencephalon or cerebral hemisphere, then rhinencephalon, and then diencephalon, that is thalamus and hypothalamus. So with this we finish with the external features of the prosencephalon. Then there is midbrain or mesencephalon. Next to midbrain is the hindbrain, which is known as the rhombencephalon. You know, rhombencephalon comprises of pons, cerebellum, and medulla oblongata. So in this diagram, you can see the pons. This is cerebellum. Pons, cerebellum, and medulla oblongata. So these are the three major parts of hindbrain: pons, cerebellum, and medulla oblongata. This is hindbrain. So in between the prosencephalon or forebrain and hindbrain, that is rhombencephalon, is the midbrain, which is also known as the mesencephalon. You can see it is the shortest segment of the brain which connects the forebrain with the hindbrain. So today we will discuss the external features of the midbrain. Now in this section, can you see the midbrain is traversed by aqueduct of Sylvius, and we discussed already this part. This is the cavity of the third ventricle. Between the cerebellum, pons, and upper part of the medulla oblongata, this is the cavity of the fourth ventricle. So the third ventricle communicates with the fourth ventricle through cerebral aqueduct which traverses the mesencephalon. Then at the lower end, the fourth ventricle communicate with the central canal of the medulla oblongata, and below with the central canal of spinal cord. These canals and ventricles are lined by ependyma, through which cerebrospinal fluid circulate. Now the midbrain, it is cylindrical in shape. It is like this, cylindrical in shape, but it has ventral surface, lateral surfaces, and dorsal surface. Ventral surface, right and left lateral surfaces, and dorsal surfaces. But these surfaces are not separated from each other by definite borders. Therefore, Just to describe the external features of the midbrain, we will first discuss the external features of the ventral surface of the midbrain. Then we will discuss the external features of the midbrain, and then we will discuss the external features of the lateral surface of the midbrain. Now, what are the external features of the ventral surface of the midbrain? Now, this is lateral view of the cerebrum, midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. So this is mesencephalon or midbrain. This is pons, and this is medulla oblongata. And behind it, this is cerebellum. Now cerebellum is connected to the brainstem. You know, brainstem comprise of these three parts: midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. Behind is cerebellum. So cerebellum is connected to the midbrain, to the pons, and to the medulla oblongata. It is connected to the midbrain by a pair of peduncles known as the superior cerebellar peduncle. Superior cerebellar peduncle. Then cerebellum is connected to the pons by a pair of peduncles this is known as the middle cerebellar peduncle. Then medulla oblongata, cerebellum is connected to the medulla oblongata by a pair of inferior cerebellar peduncles. Inferior cerebellar peduncle. So you can see the cerebellum is connected to the midbrain by superior cerebellar peduncle. Cerebellum is connected to the pons by middle cerebellar peduncle, and cerebellum is connected to the medulla oblongata by inferior cerebellar peduncle. These peduncles are in pairs. So a pair of superior cerebellar peduncle, a pair of middle cerebellar peduncle, and a pair of inferior cerebellar peduncle. So because these peduncles are in pairs, pair of superior, pair of middle, and a pair of inferior cerebellar peduncles. Therefore, if you want to separate the cerebellum from brainstem, you have to cut 6 peduncles. In this way, you will remove the cerebellum from the brainstem. Now, this is a midbrain. It is cut below the cerebrum and above the pons. So above this is the cerebrum and below is the pons. So you can see this is the midbrain, upper end and lower end, and this is the cut surface of the mesencephalon or midbrain traversed by cerebral aqueduct. So this diagram shows the ventral surface of the midbrain. So we will now discuss the external features of the ventral surface of the midbrain. But before that, we will throw a light on some of the common internal features of the midbrain in this section. So these two pillar-like structures are known as crus cerebri. This is suppose right crus cerebrus, and this is left crus cerebrus. So right and left crus cerebri, two longitudinal ridges on the ventral aspect of the midbrain. Then this is the cut surface. You can see the cut surface of the crus cerebri. This is right crus cerebrus and this is left crus cerebrus. Behind the crus cerebri, inside the midbrain, here is substantia nigra. This is a layer of gray matter. The neurons of the substantia nigra contain melanin pigment. Substantia nigra. Nigrous means black. You know, the albus means white, lutea means yellow, rubra means red, and nigrous means black. Why? Because neurons of this nervous tissue contain melanin pigment. So if you cut a section of the midbrain, you can see these dark parts of the midbrain which appear even with naked eye without staining. These two parts are known as the substantia nigra. Then in the center, I told you the midbrain is traversed by cerebral aqueduct, and around this cerebral aqueduct there is a layer of gray matter known as the central gray matter. So the midbrain throughout its length inside is traversed by cerebral aqueduct, and this cerebral aqueduct is covered by a layer of gray matter around this cerebral aqueduct. This gray matter is known as the central gray matter. Now this is ventral surface, so this will be the dorsal surface. So dorsally you can see these two elevations is on the right and left, superior calculus. This is right superior calculus and this is left superior calculus. These calculi are because of underlying nuclei. This is nucleus of the superior calculus, right side, and this is nucleus of the superior calculus on the left side. So some of the features of the internal features of the midbrain is shown is this diagram. Now from before backward, if we trace, this is the crus cerebrus, behind it is the substantia nigra, and behind this substantia nigra up to the dorsal surface, this part of the midbrain extending from substantia nigra to the posterior surface, this part of the midbrain is known as tegmentum. Tegmentum of the midbrain. Tegmentum of the midbrain. So if we trace from before backward, internally the midbrain comprises of crus cerebrus, substantia nigra. Tracing from substantia nigra up to the dorsal surface, this whole part of the midbrain is known as tegmentum of the midbrain. In the centrally it is traversed by cerebral aqueduct surrounded by central gray matter. Now, if we draw an imaginary line dividing the midbrain into right and left equal half, suppose from ventral aspect up to the dorsal aspect, we can divide the midbrain into right half and left half. Each half of the midbrain is known as cerebral peduncle. Right cerebral peduncle is this one on the right side, and this is left cerebral peduncle. So each half of the midbrain divided by imaginary line starting from its ventral aspect up to dorsal is known as cerebral peduncle. This is right cerebral peduncle and this is left cerebral peduncle. Why? Because above the right cerebral peduncle is the right cerebral hemisphere, and above the left cerebral peduncle of midbrain is the left cerebral hemisphere. So each half is known as cerebral peduncle. And I told you that the cerebellum is connected to the brainstem by 3 pairs of cerebellar peduncles. Again, I'll repeat, cerebellum is connected to the brainstem by a pair of superior cerebellar peduncle. middle cerebellar peduncle and inferior cerebellar peduncle, which I have shown in the diagram which I have drawn already. But this each half of the midbrain is known as cerebral peduncle. Now, our topic is external features of the midbrain. So first of all, we will discuss the external features of the anterior surface of the midbrain. Now, externally on the ventral surface, the midbrain is crossed by two longitudinal ridges. This one on the right side and this longitudinal ridge on the left side. Each ridge is known as crus cerebrus. So this is right crus cerebrus. A longitudinal ridge on the ventral surface of the midbrain. On the right side is the right crus cerebrus. Similarly, on the left side is the left crus cerebrus. Crus stand for leg. So these longitudinal ridges, one on the right side, one on the left side, on the ventral aspect of the midbrain, are known as crus cerebri. Now this is right crus cerebrus and this is left crus cerebrus. Two longitudinal ridges on the ventral aspect of the midbrain. Right crus cerebrus and left crus cerebrus. In between these two crura, there is a fossa. This is known as the interpeduncular fossa. This deep longitudinal fossa. Known as the interpeduncular fossa. Thus, interpeduncular fossa, they separate the right crus cerebrus from left crus cerebrus. This is interpeduncular fossa. Now, if you look to the cut surface, you can see the interpeduncular fossa separate the right and left crus cerebri, and the interpeduncular fossa also separate the right and left substantia nigra, but the interpeduncular fossa do not divide the rest of the midbrain into right and left half. This was just an imaginary line. Now, I told you that each half of the midbrain is called cerebral peduncle, right cerebral peduncle and left. And this fossa is between two crura, but it is not known as intercrural fossa. It is known as interpeduncular fossa because it is in the midline, midway between the right cerebral peduncle and left cerebral peduncle. So this is interpeduncular fossa, a vertical, deeply seated fossa. This is floor of this fossa. Now, in the floor of this fossa, there is posterior perforated substance. You know, part of the posterior perforated substance is on the basal surface of the cerebrum. and remaining part is here. This is posterior perforated substance in the floor of the interpedunculaire fossa. Posterior perforated substance. It is pierced by the central branches of the posterior cerebral artery. Now, the right crus cerebrus and left crus cerebrus both are longitudinal ridges. Now, suppose these are two crus cerebri. This is a right crus cerebrus and this is left. So, can you see this is the anterior surface of the crus cerebrus? This is medial surface of the crus cerebrus and this is lateral surface. Now come to the left side. This is anterior surface or ventral surface of the left crus cerebrus. This is the medial surface and this is the lateral surface. And this is interpeduncular fossa. So here you can see this is medial surface of the right crus cerebrus and this is lateral surface of the right crus cerebrus. This is the medial surface of the left crus cerebrus and this is lateral surface of the left crus cerebrus. Now, in the lower part of the medial surface of both crura, there is a longitudinal sulcus on the medial surface. On the medial surface of the crus cerebrus, you can see there is a longitudinal sulcus. And on the medial surface of the other crus cerebrus, again there is a longitudinal sulcus. Because these two sulci are on the medial surfaces, so they are named as the medial sulcus. Medial sulcus. Similarly, this is lateral surface of the right crus cerebrus and this is lateral surface of the left crus cerebrus. Here again, there are longitudinal sulci known as the lateral sulcus. This is lateral sulcus on the lateral surface of right crus cerebrus and this is lateral sulcus on the lateral surface of the left crus cerebrus. This is lateral sulcus. Now, medial sulcus is on the medial aspect of the crus cerebrus. This medial sulcus is also known as oculomotor sulcus. Why it is known as oculomotor sulcus? Because from here rootlets of third cranial nerves they leave and these rootlets join together to form oculomotor nerve. This is right oculomotor nerve. Which arises from the oculomotor sulcus or medial sulcus on the medial aspect of the crus cerebri. Oculomotor nerve. On the right side and again on the left side, rootlets of third cranial nerve, right and left oculomotor nerves. The third cranial nerve, right and left oculomotor nerve, has surface attachment to the ventral surface of the midbrain, arising from medial sulcus on the medial aspect of each crus cerebrus. These were the features of the axillary features of the midbrain. Ventral aspect. Below it is the pons, which is not shown here, but here there is a band, a white band, known as the tinea pontis. This white band is known as the tinea pontis. Tinea pontis. The tinea pontis, which is in the lowest part of the ventral surface or right and left crura, enter into the cerebellum, enter into the pons, not cerebellum. This is why it's known as the tinea pontis. These were the external features of the ventral surface of the midbrain. Now we will discuss the external features of the dorsal surface of the midbrain. Now this was ventral surface of the midbrain. Now this diagram shows the dorsal surface of the midbrain. Posterior view. What are the external features of the posterior view of the midbrain? You know, above is the forebrain, below is the pons, and this is posterior view. Now posterior view, posteriorly there are 4 swellings. This is superior calculus. Suppose left superior calculus, and this is left inferior calculus. Similarly here, right superior calculus and right inferior calculus. So there are four calculi, four swellings, two superior and two inferior. On the upper part of the dorsal aspect of the midbrain. A pair of superior calculi and a pair of inferior calculi. So there are four calculi, four swellings on the upper part of the posterior surface of the midbrain. Collectively, these are known as corpora quadrigemina, corpora, corpus means body, and quadri means four bodies, two superior, two inferior, two superior calculi and two inferior calculi, collectively known as the corpora quadrigemina. Now these swellings called calculi are separated from each other by sulci. Now this sulcus is known as cruciform sulcus. Cruciform sulcus. Why these are called cruciform sulcus? These are the two sulci. This is the vertical part and this is the horizontal part. Because these two sulci, they cross. This is why collectively these two sulci are known as cruciform sulcus. The vertical part of the cruciform sulcus separate right superior calculus and right inferior calculus from left superior calculus and left inferior calculus. The horizontal part of this cruciform sulcus separate these two superior calculi from two inferior calculi. So these are the features of the upper part of the dorsal surface of the midbrain. Now if we trace the longitudinal part of this cruciform sulcus, here there is a ridge. You know, sulcus is a groove and this is a ridge, a vertical ridge. On the dorsal surface of the lower part of the midbrain. This ridge of brain tissue is known as frenulum vellae. If we trace this sulcus, the vertical part of the cruciform sulcus, below it converts into a ridge of brain tissue. This ridge on the dorsal surface of the lower part of the midbrain is known as the frenulum vellae. On each side of the frenulum vellae is the surface attachment of trochlear nerve. This is right trochlear nerve. And this is left trochlear nerve. So on either side of the frenulum villi, from the dorsal surface of the midbrain, on each side is the surface attachment of, this is right trochlear nerve and this is left trochlear nerve. So you have seen two cranial nerves has surface attachment to the midbrain. Ventrally is the right and left oculomotor nerves having surface attachment from the ventral aspect of the midbrain. And on the dorsal aspect, right and left trochlear nerves. Now, the trochlear nerves are unique in that these are the only cranial nerves which have surface attachment on the posterior surface of the brain. All rest of the cranial nerves, they arise from the ventral or ventrolateral aspect of the brain. You know, there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves. So 11 pairs of cranial nerves, they have surface attachment to the ventral and ventrolateral aspect of the brainstem. It is only the trochlear nerves which arises from the posterior aspect of the brain, that is from the posterior or dorsal aspect of the midbrain below the inferior caliculi. Inferior caliculi on each side, right and left trochlear nerve, one on each side of the frenulum villi. Then I told you that the cerebellum is connected to the midbrain by superior cerebellar peduncle. Cerebellum is connected to the midbrain by a pair of superior cerebellar peduncle. So therefore, posteriorly you can see the right and left superior cerebellar peduncles. Here is cerebellum which is removed. Now, if you want to remove the cerebellum, as I told you before, we have to cut the 3 pairs of cerebellar peduncles. Now here, because cerebellum is removed, therefore the superior cerebellar peduncles, they are cut. So this is right superior cerebellar peduncle, and this is left superior cerebellar peduncle. These are the cut ends of the right and left superior cerebellar peduncle. Why? Because cerebellum is removed. So from the anterior notch of the cerebellum, right and left superior cerebellar peduncle run forwards and upwards and have connection with the lower part of the dorsal surface of the midbrain below the right and left trochlear nerve. So this is right superior cerebellar peduncle and this is left. So these were the external features of the dorsal surface of the midbrain. So again, I will explain that on the upper part of the dorsal surface of the midbrain, there are two superior caliculi and 2 inferior caliculi. These 4 caliculi are collectively known as corpora quadrigemina. These caliculi are separated from each other by a cruciform sulcus, which have a vertical part and a horizontal part. If we trace the vertical part below the level of inferior caliculi, it converts into a ridge of nervous tissue known as the frenulum villi. And on each side of the frenulum villi is the surface attachment of right trochlear nerve and left trochlear nerve. And I told you that the right and left trochlear nerve are unique, that they are the only cranial nerves which have surface attachment on the posterior surface of the midbrain. The right and left trochlear nerve has another feature, that these are the cranial nerves which completely decussate. In the last lecture, I told you that the right and left optic nerves at the level of optic chiasma, they undergo partial decussation. But the right and left trochlear nerve, they completely decussate. Left trochlear nerve pass to the right side and right trochlear nerve pass to the left side. So these were external features of the posterior surface of the midbrain. Now we discussed the external features of the ventral surface of the midbrain. Then we discussed the external features of the dorsal surface of the midbrain. Now we will discuss the external features of the lateral surface of the midbrain. Now this is lateral surface of midbrain. Now from here up to here, this is lateral surface of the midbrain. Above it is the cerebrum. So we have removed the whole cerebrum, leaving only the thalamus. This is thalamus. Now we have dissected or removed the cerebrum, leaving only thalamus. As you know, thalamus has anterior blunt end and a posterior dorsal end. This posterior dorsal end, you know, is known as pulvinar. Now, onto the inferior surface of the pulvinar, there are two swellings. One is lateral and one is medial. This is medial geniculate body. Medial geniculate body. And this is a lateral geniculate body, sorry. red one is the lateral geniculate body, and medial to it is green one. This is a medial geniculate body. Now, both these bodies, which are located on the inferior surface of the pulvinar of the thalamus, is known as metathalamus. Medial geniculate body and lateral geniculate body, metathalamus. Now, because these two geniculate bodies has some relation with the nucleus of the superior calculus and nucleus of inferior calculus. Therefore, while discussing the external features of the lateral surface of the midbrain, we will also talk about the metathalamus, lateral and medial geniculate body. Now, lateral view, you can see this is superior calculus. Of one side. You can see posterior view also. Posteriorly, right and left, superior calculi. And laterally, you can see calculi of only one side. The other calculus is on the opposite side, which is not visible. So, in lateral view, this is superior calculus. And below that, this bulge is the inferior calculus. Just like you have seen here, a pair of inferior calculi on the dorsal surface of the midbrain. And if we look from side, we will see only one side calculi. This is superior calculus, this is inferior calculus. Now, can you see from the level of superior calculus, a broad ridge run forwards and upwards towards the lateral geniculate body on the upper part of the lateral surface of the midbrain. This rounded ridge, which extends from the superior calculus to the lateral geniculate body, this is known as brachium of superior calculus. This is known as the brachium of superior calculus. Brachium of superior colliculus. As I told you before that it is an elongated ridge like flexor aspect of the upper arm or brachium. You know, upper arm is called brachium, forearm is called antebrachium, and hand is also known as manus. So this resembles the flexor surface of the brachium of the upper arm. Therefore, it is known as the brachium of the superior calculus. Similarly, you can see another elongated ridge which starts at the level of inferior calculus, run forwards and upwards, and reaches to the inferior surface of the pulvinar towards the medial geniculate body. This is medial geniculate body. This longitudinal ridge is known as brachium of inferior calculus. This is known as brachium of inferior colliculus. Just like brachium of superior colliculus. So what are the features of the lateral aspect of the midbrain in its upper part? Above, it is traversed by an elongated ridge which run upwards and forwards, extending from superior colliculus on the dorsal surface of the midbrain to the lateral geniculate body on the inferior surface of pulvinar of the thalamus. Then another longitudinal ridge crosses over the upper part of the lateral surface of the midbrain, known as the brachium of inferior colliculus. It starts at the inferior colliculus, which is on the dorsal surface of the midbrain, run forwards and upwards to reach the inferior surface of the pulvinar of the thalamus towards the medial geniculate body. So upper part of the lateral surface of the midbrain is featured by brachium of superior colliculus. Below and parallel to it is the brachium of inferior colliculus. Now look here, this is lateral surface of the midbrain. Now anteriorly I told you that this is right crus cerebrus and left crus cerebrus. They have medial surface and lateral surface. So if you look from lateral side, you can see the lateral surface of the crus cerebrus. So can you see here lateral surface of the crus cerebrus and rest of the lateral surface of the midbrain. So what is this? Lateral surface of the crus cerebrus. Lateral surface of crus cerebrus, looking from lateral side. Now I told you that on the lateral surface of the crus cerebrus there is a longitudinal sulcus. Look here. On the medial surface of each crus cerebrus there is a longitudinal sulcus known as the medial sulcus, and it is also known as the oculomotor sulcus. Why? Because rootlets of oculomotor nerve leave the midbrain, and these rootlets join together to form right and left oculomotor nerve. Similarly, on the lateral aspect of each crus cerebrus, there is a lateral sulcus. So, in the lateral view of the crus cerebrus, you can see this is lateral sulcus. This is lateral sulcus. Lateral sulcus on the lateral aspect of the crus cerebrus. Tracing from this lateral sulcus on the lateral aspect of the crus cerebrus, there is a ridge again which run upwards and backwards towards the brachium of inferior colliculus. This elongated ridge, which starts from the lateral sulcus on the lateral surface of the crus cerebrus, it runs backwards and upwards. On the lower part of the lateral aspect of the midbrain towards the brachium of inferior colliculus. This elongated ridge crossing the lower part of the lateral aspect of the midbrain, starting from lateral sulcus on the lateral surface of the crus cerebrus, run backwards and upwards towards the brachium of inferior colliculus. This is known as lateral lemniscus. Lateral lemniscus. Lateral lemniscus. It is part of the auditory pathway, hearing pathway. So these were this diagram shows the external features of the ventral surface of the midbrain. This diagram shows the external features of the dorsal surface of the midbrain, and This diagram shows the external features of the lateral surface of the midbrain. In this way, with the help of these diagrams, we can describe the external features of the mesencephalon or midbrain. Thank you very much.